Assalamu alaikum students, this is Farwa Batool, your O-level computer science instructor, and welcome to another video. So, we have started activity 7.7 in my previous videos. We are done with question number 1, question number 2, and in this video we will be doing question number 3. Yes, again the topic is validation and its types. Let's go to question number 3 quickly. The question says that write an algorithm using pseudocode to check that the length of a password is between 8 and 12 characters inclusive. It means that the user is supposed to give password as an input, and we have to make sure that this password must be within 8 to 12 characters. It cannot be less than 8 characters. It cannot be greater than 12 characters. Let's suppose I have written a password apple. Then I will count the characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since my password has 5 characters, so I will get a message that your password must not be smaller than 8 characters. And since let's suppose I have written a password that is very long, apple, banana, 1, 2, 3. And then if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's 14 characters. So again, the length is exceeded. It means that both the passwords will not be accepted by the system. Why? Because we don't need smaller than 8 characters and we don't need greater than 12 characters. So let me write down the conditions, the favorable conditions, and on the other hand, the conditions that must not be acceptable by the system. So first of all, what are the favorable conditions for a password? Okay. The favorable condition says that your password length. Here I will be using a method called length and I will put the variable password inside that. Why? Because this method gives me or calculates for me the number of characters in my password that are entered by the user. So, by this method, I will find out that how many characters the user has entered into the system as a password. Now, favorable conditions are if the length of password must be greater than and equals to 8. Why equals to 8? Because 8 and 12 are inclusive. We must also be accepting 8 characters and 12 characters. Why? Because both the numbers are inclusive in the length of the password. Okay, the next condition. With this condition, we also have to see that the length of the password must also not exceed 12. So it must be less than and equals to 12. So these are the two favorable conditions, 1 and 2. For the password. The password must be greater than equals to 8 and the password must be less than equals to 12. So both the conditions must have an AND operator. Why AND operator? Because AND means that you need both the conditions to be satisfied for the password. And in other case, what are the conditions that makes the password invalid? Or in the other case, we have to send a message to the user that your password is not within the specified length. So, invalid conditions or invalid entry conditions. When the password will not be valid and we have to send the message. So, it will be opposite to this. If the length of the password is less than 8, and also if it is less than 8, or in other case, if the length of the password is greater than 12. Less than 8 means if the password is 7, 5, 3, and so on, it will be invalid. It will not be accepted by the system. Or if the password is greater than 12 characters, it can be 13, 20, 50, and so on. So the system will not accept it. So both the conditions makes the password not acceptable by the system. Now, let's quickly write down the pseudo code for this example. First of all, I will be giving an output message to the user in which I will say, please enter your password. Okay. Next, what I will be doing, I will be using a repeat until loop because I have to check the number of characters or length of my password, and this loop will only be terminated if the conditions will be satisfied. And what are the conditions that needs to be satisfied? Two conditions. The length of my password. In until loop, you must be writing those conditions that satisfy your data entry or the password. So length of the password must be greater than equals to 8. This is the first condition. And remember that we need two conditions to be satisfied. And second is length of the password must be less than equals to 12. So these are the two conditions. When these two conditions will be satisfied, we will go out of the loop, or there is no need to give the message to the user. Why? Because already the password is within the specified length. Now, what we have to do inside this repeat until loop. First, we will take input of the user and save it in a variable password. Okay, because we have displayed a message to the user that please enter your password. Then when the user will see this message, definitely he's going to enter something. So what we will do, when we will go inside the loop, we will save the user's data in a variable named password. Next, we will be checking our password. Now, here we have to write down those conditions that makes the password invalid. Why? Because we have to show the message to the user that please enter the password again. That's why I will be writing those conditions that makes the password invalid, or in other case I can say that it will not be accepted by the system. Okay, so here I have length of the password. If less than 8, or why are we using or? Because if any one of these conditions becomes true, let me write it first. Length of the password must, if greater than 12. Remember that if any of these two conditions becomes true, let's suppose either the length of the password is less than 8, it's small, or either the password length is more than 12 characters. Maybe the password is too long. So, in either of the case, what you have to do, you have to show an output message to the user. And what would be your output message? Tell the user your password must be 8 and 12 characters inclusive. And you will say, please, sorry for this writing, re-enter. So this will be the message that will tell the user that password must not be too small than 8 characters and must not be too big than 12 characters or more. Okay. So when this message will be shown by the user, definitely he is going to re-enter the password. And again, the loop will continue. It will check the password length again, and if the length matches or it satisfied the condition, it is within 8 or 12 characters, then we will go out of the loop, or in other case, we have to display the message again. Okay. So this is if then, and there is no need to do anything in else. So just write down and if, because remember, whenever we start with if condition, we have to write and if at the end of it. Now let's quickly dry run the program with an example. Now let's suppose this is my computer screen. So in the screen, when the program will run, I will see a message. Please enter your password. Okay, let's suppose the user enters Apple. Since Apple has 5 characters, now when it will go inside the loop, this Apple is stored in a variable name password. So, in other words, I can say that there will be a variable password that is going to store the user's value, that is Apple. And when I will check the length of this variable password, it will be 5 characters. And since it is 5 characters, so when I will see the if conditions, look here. Length password is less than 8. The first condition is satisfied. Or in other case, this condition becomes true. Yes, the password length is less than 8. And remember that when any of these two conditions becomes true, either this one, either this one. If any of these conditions becomes true, you have to tell the user that your password is not within the specified length. You have to enter at least 8 characters or at most 12 characters for the password. So the user is going to see a message after if conditions. Since one of the if condition is true, so we will see an output message. Your password must be 8 and 12 characters inclusive. Please re-enter. This message which will only be displayed when one of the if conditions becomes true. Please re-enter. And when the user will see this message, definitely he is going to re-enter the password. But before the re-entry, it will check the until conditions. Now, for the first example, since the length of the password is 5, so if we see the first condition, length of the password greater than equals to 8, no, it becomes false. And the other condition, length of the password, which is 5, is it less than equals to 12? Which is true. But remember that since we have used an AND operator, so it means that both the conditions must be satisfied. The number of characters must be within 8 to 12. So no matters if one of the condition is satisfied, we will not be going out of the loop. Why? Because according to our condition, both of these length conditions. Look here in the until loop. Length of password must be greater than equals to 8 and length of password must be less than equals to 8. Both must be satisfied. So, since one of the condition is false, so again it will go and check the password again. So let's suppose now in the second time the password that is entered is Apple 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 characters. Now, this is the length that will be satisfied. How? Quickly see that. This is something stored in the variable password. And then when we will see the length of the password variable, it will be 9 characters now. So quickly look at the if conditions. When the if conditions will be checked, the first condition says that length of the password that is 9 is less than 8. No, it becomes false. The other condition says that length of the password that is 9 is greater than 12. No, both the conditions becomes false. And remember, when both the condition becomes false, what you have to do, so only in that case when both the conditions are false, what you will do, you will not display any message because it is already satisfying your condition for the length of password. So now quickly go to the until conditions and check that. In the until conditions, remember both the conditions needs to be true to go out of the loop. So look at your conditions here. Length of the password that is 9 now. Is it greater than equals to 8? Yes. True. And length of the password is less than equals to 12? Yes, this is true also. Since both the conditions are true, now what you have to do, you will be going out of the loop and your password is satisfied or the system accepts the password. So this is how this pseudocode is going to work for this example. And remember that this is an example of length check. It's a type of validation check, that is the length check. This example, since the example is related to the length of the variable, so that's why it's an example, it's a validation for the length. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you understand it, and if you have any question, you can comment below. Stay tuned, stay connected, and do not forget to subscribe the channel. Bye bye.